podcast. Here are your hosts, Cam and Kobe.
Welcome to the Casual Preppers Podcast, the only place for prepping, survival, and entertainment. We are your hosts, Cameron and Kobe, and we are ready to bring survival goodness direct to your dirty, little, filthy, stinking ear holes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going a little extra today, okay? You okay with that?
I am.
You are. How's it going, yo?
Hello.
What's
How
up?
are you today?
How are you, Cameron?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You look pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you've looked better, but you look pretty good today.
Well, it's because of the shirt I'm wearing.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brings out my skin tone, eyeballs. My eyeballs show up
You're right.
really good with this
Yeah,
shirt
one
on.
of them for sure, really good. Right.
So,
Hey,
yeah.
what are we talking about today, man? We got a good episode.
Yeah, this is a deep subject.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 2020, so why don't we talk about possibilities
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a second civil war? Would that be quite an exciting possibility?
Yeah, I think it's we're on the brink.
Yeah,
Probably.
It's kind of something I never thought in my entire life
Yeah,
would ever be considered a possibility.
I know.
But hey,
Here we are.
2020,
Yeah,
everything's a possibility.
Yeah.
Hey, dreams can come true.
dreams
for
can come true in 2020.
all kinds of
Yeah.
things. So yeah, let's talk about it.
So before we get to that, I want to talk to you about BattleBox, Cameron. Most subscription boxes are full of samples and junk you'll never use, but not the BattleBox. It's the monthly subscription box for men, full of solid gear for adventure seekers, survivalists, outdoor enthusiasts, and casual preppers. Each month, BattleBox sends you the coolest selection of hand-picked outdoor survival and everyday carry gear, all valued at far more than what you'd normally pay. You never know what's in the next box, but here is a sampling of what users received this month. They got that Leatherman black and silver Skeletool. You know what?
Carrying it right now.
I got that shiz on me.
I used it yesterday.
Did you? It's beautiful.
It's awesome.
I love it. I'm
Have
going to keep it right out here
have
on
it
the
in my
counter.
backpack.
Leatherman.
all the time.
BattleBox, thank you. So all this badassness starts at about $30 a month. They've shipped almost 1 million boxes, probably more than that at this point,
Oh, gotta be.
and won Best Men's Subscription Box of 2017. Plus, you can check them out on Netflix. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Southern Survival.
All their stuff.
You got to check it out. Our listeners get a free knife when you sign up at trybattlebox.com/casualpreppers. Do you like free knives, Cam?
I love knives.
I do too. And when they're free, it's even better. Okay?
Probably my favorite.
Yeah, that's trybattlebox.com/casualpreppers. Get your first battle box plus a free knife at trybattlebox.com/casualpreppers.
Yeah. Bring some light to 2020.
Yeah.
Get some cool stuff.
Yeah, you got to get some cool
They've
gear.
been destroying those boxes.
Ooh, yeah,
They're so
man.
good, all of them.
All of them.
I'm excited.
It's great stuff. Cam, it's time. We got so much to talk about today. We're foregoing all the other madness.
We do.
We're going directly into the Second Civil War.
Yeah.
Second Civil War.
Yeah.
What is it going to look like? What might it be? How the F do we get through it in one piece?
Yeah.
We
So,
don't know.
Have civil wars happened? Yes.
Pretty
a
sure.
lot. And, obviously the American Civil War we know very well. But
It's a
if
big
you go and look at Wikipedia of list of civil wars, my computer crashed.
Oh, man.
No, seriously, it just
Yeah.
goes on forever. And a lot of them are obviously politically based.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of, somebody goes into power that the rest don't want, and then there's a division and a fight. And we'll talk about
That doesn't
these
sound
different
familiar at all.
No, no, I've never even heard of something like
No,
that.
no, that's
Never
weird.
happens. But yeah, the American Civil War, 600,000 American lives plus lost. Just tons. And the problem with having a war within the country is it's not helping anything. We don't want war at all, but
No.
there's a boost in economy if we.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should go to war, but I'm just saying it's way worse and sets us up for so many more issues that
When it's inside the country.
yeah, when it's
Yeah.
a civil war because we're not unified. We're not America. We're not what we're supposed to be.
Yeah, sure.
So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
So let's just go into some of these
Yeah.
issues we have today.
Yeah, so what's happening right now, and what does the landscape look like throughout the country that might say, hey, this is a possibility? These are some things to think about. And one of the things is that Americans absolutely hate each other. If you
They
don't
really
know, now you know. They hate each other. Really, really bad.
Right.
If you've ever been on social media, you will figure this out really, really quick. So a Pew poll in 2016 found that 35% of registered voters claim to hate the opposing political party. That's a pretty big statement saying, I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate
You always teach your kids, oh, don't say hate.
Yeah.
It's a strong word.
because it is a strong word.
But
It really
it's becoming not so much of like you
Yeah.
have opposing opinions. It's I hate you because you don't believe what I like
Yeah, and
or want.
that's not good.
No.
It's not good at all. 91% of people said in a recent PRRI survey that the country is divided over politics. Well, duh. I mean that seems
That's low.
yeah. It seems there's no middle ground anymore. Like there's no gray area. It's like you are either this side or this side, and you can't be anywhere in between.
You can't.
And what that does is divide us all a lot, right? Muy divisions.
And it's not like one side. There's like
Yes.
16 billion different directions
Yeah.
of all these different ideas. It's
Yep,
like, geez
exactly.
Louise.
And so recently, obviously, Donald Trump came into power, and he saw this little flame, kind of just smoldering, and he grabbed a can of gas and he threw it on top of that flame, and now it's like,
Yeah.
everything's
Powder
on fire.
sugar in his mouth.
And so that's and he's inflamed passions on both sides, and it's for good and for bad. Like he's done some great things, and some people thinks he's done some horrible things, but he doesn't give a crap, and he kind of just says whatever he wants to. And,
Totally.
And it does not. It just sort of ramps up everybody on both sides, right?
time.
And so that's tensions are getting higher, and then the other thing is these racial tensions, like races are starting to hate each other. It's like going back to
Right.
the civil rights era again, it feels like. So, oh man.
It's just so weird because like just the race thing alone
Yeah.
is like it was that there was race issues and always has been.
Sure.
But now it's like let's fix it, and it has become even more.
Yeah.
Like it's become worse.
It's crazy,
like
man.
ridiculous what people have turned
Yeah.
into.
Another thing to think about is the growing wealth gap in the United States.
Yeah.
So, some people might not think this is a big deal, but it ends up being a big deal for some people.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, the share of American adults who live in middle-income households has decreased from 61% in 1971 to 51% in 2019.
That's super interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's
Makes sense.
That middle class is shrinking, right? Over the past 50 years, the highest earning 20% of the U.S. households have steadily brought in a larger share of the country's total income. So basically
much
saying,
larger share.
yeah, that those high earners are starting to earn even more and more and more. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying people see this and it upsets them, and
It does.
And there's some people on certain political sides that use that as a weapon too, to divide us even more.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing in past civil war. I mean, look at Venezuela. That's like
Oh yeah, for sure.
a huge thing of like
Yeah.
who controls money and all that.
The difference in median household incomes between white and black Americans has grown from about $23,800 in 1970 to $33,000 in 2018. So that's even getting worse. So again, that's on economic and racial lines there. The wealth gap between America's richest and poorer families has more than doubled from 1989 to 2016. This it upsets people, and because a lot of times people don't understand what it means, and people get upset when they see people making a lot of money and you're not making a lot of money. Again, it's just tension. Groceries. This year, in the month of April, the price of groceries shot up 2.6%.
No kidding.
Obviously because of COVID. But something I read somewhere says one of the biggest indicators in civil unrest and like civil war conflicts like this is food prices.
Yeah.
It just gets everybody mad because again, that lower class has a harder time making it because food's more expensive, right? So
and then when you hit the middle class shrinking,
yeah, exactly.
it's like
it just makes it harder and harder. So the economy is a big deal. Guns. So this is not necessarily
These
something
aren't really a debatable issue.
So in 2019, about 37% of U.S. households had at least one gun in their possession, with over 400 million guns in the United States. So there's more guns right
Really?
now than people.
37%?
Yeah,
Lower than I
37%. So this obviously does come into play when we talk about a second civil war in several different ways, right?
Yeah.
For one thing, there's huge passions on either side of the gun debate. The pro-gun, the anti-gun.
Right.
They hate each other.
Yes,
Again,
they do.
it comes back down to that hate and that division. And then obviously having so many guns comes into play when something like this might actually happen.
Yeah.
Right? Here's the big one for me. It's social media.
Poison.
It kind of is. So in 2019, over 246 million Americans were using social networks. That's basically everybody. I mean, that's a huge percentage. This means 246 million Americans are sharing their opinion about every stupid thing they can think about.
Oh, unbelievable.
All the freaking time. So
tons of ignorant people sharing their super deep thoughts about things.
So this leads to more divisiveness. This leads to more tension. This leads to people. Social media,
so nasty, man.
They're bad, and especially on social media because when you're not face to face.
Oh yeah,
I'll say whatever.
Commando.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, those keyboard commandos, they go nuts.
You can go full on.
It just keeps inflaming everybody, and everything gets worse and worse.
Well, even like the racial thing's been like unbelievable. Like
100%.
Like, did you see that thing about what's his name from The Office? He like posts something on Instagram because he has a new thing, and it's like the nasty, like horrible racial slurs. I'm like, geez, people are getting worse.
It's bad. So obviously, social media and people being able to push out their opinion and all those things leads to people being more easily radicalized or swayed.
All social media accounts should go by their name and then their social.
Yeah, I know, huh? Because it pushes crazy conspiracy theories. It pits people against each other. So there's a lot of crazy things going on with social media, but it also leads to more information for us, which is usually good.
Right. And a lot of company, I mean, it's kind of unavoidable in certain. It's like we're going to post this on Facebook and stuff. So if you don't use it, you're kind of forced to use it.
Yeah.
Facebook knows that too.
And so the information piece of it is good and bad because we see any tiny little thing that the government does wrong is out there in an instant usually.
It's like reviews on Amazon.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any good reviews.
And so with the government doing bad things, they used to be able to get away with it, but now they can't. And so that, again, makes people mad.
That too.
They're seeing it, right? So it's good and bad, social media. And then just the current instability we have, here in the United States, the past 4 or 5 years, it's been nuts. Cam's going to talk about a lot of those things, but politics, government, COVID, the economy, unemployment, the environment, 2020 has just been insane. And I think once you get past social media, the next biggest thing for me is the actual mainstream news media. They're just absolutely directly profiting from building tension. They're just trying to inflame both sides. And so they are the damn devil. That's what I wrote there.
And you are correct.
I am correct, yes.
Yeah. So what are some of the possible things that could like trigger or initiate these events to just get to a point of like
it's time to fight?
And Civil War itself, I mean, it's like Civil War is kind of a broad. It's not. It became a little too broad, like broadly used. It's not necessarily like. Anyway, we won't go into the details of that, but so just for regular terms, we'll just say Civil War. But yeah, like probably the intense event that's coming, obviously, is the election. You have, Donald Trump and all the things that he's saying now. I mean, he's just been releasing like statement after statement. It's just like fueling the.
It's great entertainment.
Like people are just like they're just going crazy about it.
Yeah.
And
say what you will.
Even just recently, he's like, go and vote twice.
Yeah.
He's like, mail it in and then go down and vote. And they're like, that's illegal. And so
that's a felony.
It's like, oh my gosh, the president of the United States is like throwing out these.
It is great entertainment. You got to admit.
I will admit it just like they just like. For example, like somebody like Anderson Cooper, like can't even. It just makes me laugh because he's just like,
he's gonna lose
head
it,
spinning, about ready to blow off.
It's great to see that. I love it.
Yeah. So we have this election coming up, and all the statements you've heard. A lot of people are like, "Will Trump even? Will he even allow?
Concede? Will there be a peaceful transfer of power between Trump and Biden if Biden wins?"
Right. And a lot don't think so.
No.
A lot are like, there's no way he's going to give up that power.
Sure.
Because obviously we've seen, he's already playing the poor loser side. It's like, if I lose, there's all this. Just some of the statements that he had said on the economy alone are pretty scary. Because he's like, he had said the stock market, with Trump has kind of gone up and down, and right now it's doing really well. But he has said specifically, he's like, if I leave if anybody takes control other than me, there's going to be the worst stock market crash of all time ever that anyone's ever seen. He's so dramatic with all his words.
Yeah.
And then he said the same thing with all that. And it's scary because one thing that I wanted to bring up here is when the election is over, there's almost 3 months that Trump is still in control.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Who knows what may happen?
he
in those 3
sabotaged
months.
the whole thing. If
Yeah.
he, it's like, screw it, I'm going to make the country look terrible after I leave.
Sabotage.
But you don't know.
Yeah.
And so people are just like terrified about what is going to happen. So the election obviously is going to fuel a lot of fires, and people are going to lose their minds like they did before. We saw it even in the 2016 election.
Well, and then on the other side, like if Biden wins,
right,
it's a whole other thing.
Trump supporters are pretty hardcore. I mean, did you see like that big old train of Trump supporters in Portland, like driving through with their trucks? And it's like, man, it looked like somewhere in like Israel.
Yeah,
Like,
it's crazy.
Big old jacked up trucks and holding like guns and Trump flags. So it's like there's a lot of tension there.
And then it's also
either side.
Not even like, so you're saying like if Trump wins, maybe he doesn't peaceably transfer power,
Right.
or I mean, if he loses. But if he wins, is the other side going to accept it? If he wins, and to me, that's probably the worst scenario.
Yeah. And I think so too.
You know what I mean?
So, and a lot of people are freaked out about this. This could be a huge catastrophe if one side or the other. But there's some hope out there too that I wanted to just mention, in that, how many times in history have we gone through these really close elections where it's been neck and neck? A lot. I think there's been 6 in total. One of them obviously turned into a catastrophe, civil war. But that was different because there were some other disputes. But we have a lot right now. And so we've got, so they say a lot of times, or I mean, in these different articles that I've read, is like, one, if the election goes one way, people get super mad about it. This has happened in the past. It's okay. The one thing that was different about the Civil War period was that there was this huge issue with, slavery.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of other standing issues that are small. And when you put those together, I mean,
especially in a year like this with COVID on top of everything else.
There's obviously a ton of people without work, and a lot of people are like super pissed about everything.
Absolutely.
And so the election is definitely a big old powder keg.
Yeah, it could be a catalyst.
So another thing is political combined with economical issues, or economical, however you want to say it. If you look at some of the history, like look at the Soviet Union, when it was dissolved, a lot of it came from the combination of these two things, where you had this economy that was, it was a communist economy, and so
usually doesn't work out well.
Yeah, so you had that, and then there's a lot of countries that went through that. China is still kind of going through that, and it's like this economy is being controlled and moved by the government, and you have a lot of people that go without. Venezuela, that was a huge issue, and that's why they went through what they're going through, is because they didn't have access to a good life and a normal life, and then there's all this power, and then the big huge power struggle that's still going on. So you can see how like these things in the past that have happened to these other countries, like our country has a lot of those similarities, which is freaky. And then those, like I said, some of those other things, the racial inequality right now is obviously not getting any better. As soon as I feel like it's like kind of settling down, boom, like something.
Another shooting again. I mean, there was like another shooting yesterday.
Louise, yeah,
there was another one yesterday. I think it was in D.C. And again, more protests, more riots.
Yeah, and so it just puts all that stuff back into the streets and slows down.
Yeah,
all the stuff that it affects everything, and so that's obviously not getting better. Then we have a presidential election coming. This year is just unbelievable.
It's like a perfect storm. Seriously.
Yep, it really is. And then other things are foreign pressures. So we know all of the different influences that come from Russia. We've seen it. It's been going for, ever. 2016 was a big old dramatic event about how much they were involved in the election. Why wouldn't they be? If they can weaken a power like us and continue to do so, then obviously they are. They're going to do all they can. And there's a lot of experts who are like, no, this is safer now. And these big powers aren't getting involved. Forget that. Like China obviously wants Trump out. Russia wants Trump to stay in. So it's like if I were a superpower against a country, I would want to get involved to ruin it.
You would.
Like, it's the perfect
I
opportunity.
can guarantee you the United States is involved in their.
Oh, yep. They always have. I mean, we've even seen with in Colombia when we went after that. It's like the United States has always meddled with other elections. They were involved in the whole Venezuela thing too with Russia.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guarantee you that Russia, China.
So the foreign pressures, I think, is underplayed a little too much. It's like it's definitely there. They're throwing firecrackers into the streets, pissing people off, and just making everything. They control media too, and it's like ISIS. I mean, that was social media when you mentioned that. It's like that's where their big recruit, where they 100%. Fueled all of their followers and stuff. It's like, and we have all 246 million people following along, and all of them have their own opinions. And so, anyways, huge influences. A lot of stuff's already going on. We're already a bit fragile, and then we've got this election that's like super. It's one of the elections I've never seen. The last two have been something in history. It's just like, holy crap! There's so much polarity on each side. It's like, oh, it's insane. It's just we don't know. We don't know what to expect. So obviously, we need to be prepared for the worst.
Yeah, we definitely need to be prepared.
So anyways, that was just a quick rundown of some of the things that are definitely catalysts.
Especially right here
Civil War type
in the near future too. Like basically
we got to deal with these problems right now.
Like they're here. So we got to be thinking about those. So say something does happen, the election goes awry and people start getting pissed off and this civil war kind of breaks out in the United States. Yeah. What is it going to look like?
And this is interesting because there's like so many different ideas and ways and possibilities.
Yes, it's almost endless. It's really hard to actually talk about this because nobody knows. I mean, we can see what's happened in other countries, similarly. But the United States it's its own thing. Like we are so unique in the entire world that it's hard to tell exactly what might happen. But we know for sure that it's going to be completely different than the first American Civil War. It's not going to be like you were saying to me the other day or something. It's going to be blue and gray against each other, and the North versus the South. Yeah. There's armies and there's a general, and that's just not going to happen. There's just no way.
No one wants that to happen. But that's probably the most clear-cut, easy scenario.
Yeah, it's not going to happen that way. Just because of how things are. We're not divided. Geographically in any way that makes any sense.
Big thing with the Civil War is like it just happened to be that
the southern
states were slavery states, and the economy was based on
100% their economy, and then the North wasn't, and so it worked out in a way that it was pretty clean cut on who was who and who was fighting. There's not going to be some winner take all thing at the end. Whoever wins takes whatever. You know what I mean? It's just not going to be, and there's definitely no Lincoln anywhere. We do not have an Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, sorry, the presidencies have just fallen pretty far from
it. Just isn't there. So most likely what this is going to be is opposing ideologies of some sort. Like I said, no North versus South. It's going to be these loosely based groups that probably don't have a leader.
Right.
It could end up being something like rural versus urban, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's crazy how divided rural versus urban is pretty clean cut, with politics and beliefs and ideologies.
That's true.
It's kind of crazy how clear cut that is.
Or looking at the map of your Democratic and your Republican states shows that. Like,
blue and red, and not saying it's necessarily going to be political, but there's a divide that way. And it could be government versus the people. You don't know. It could be like minority, like races versus majority. There's so many different ways it could play out that it's scary to look at because you just don't know.
And it's a huge it's a huge deal. Like our town, for example, is so like everything is oil field based.
Yes.
And so I don't feel like and I probably don't give people enough credit, but I sometimes think they look at the picture of I want somebody that's going to give me the best, and you do.
Sure.
What's going to give me a job, and it's going to give me the income that I had back here and there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, what about the future of the country long term?
Yeah.
So it's a hard thing.
It's hard, and I don't ever blame people for making that decision if it's your livelihood
and your family and your
You have to do that. So it's
you can't just
really
say,
hard.
well, I'm going to base everything on this president.
Yeah.
Even though it's going to take my job away.
Who
would
wouldn't
do that?
Yeah, you'd be dumb to, right?
So anyways, it pulls apart
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing.
And very likely the majority of whatever these conflicts look like are going to be in places where each side has a stake or where they might merge. So cities where there's a mix of racial populations or where political ideologies might mix, because even here in Utah, so if you go to Salt Lake City, it's very left-wing, like right down Salt Lake City.
It is.
But not too
Big
far
time.
away is Provo.
Yeah.
Very right-wing. And they're both big cities, and they kind of merge. And so you could see something happening in that area because they're so mixed, right?
Yep.
So I think a lot of that's going to happen. And instead of these two big armies against each other, you kind of have to think of it in like guerrillas or rebel factions, proxies, insurgencies, rioters, protesters, these anti whatever they might be groups. That's who's going to be fighting most likely in these types of things. They're going to look more like tribal conflicts, kind of composed along racial, religious, could even be religious, political,
that goes into it a lot too,
or economic lines. So it's just so unique at how it's going to play out.
This is totally how I see it working out too.
Yeah.
It's just more of what we see already.
Yep.
A lot more and a lot more powerful groups.
It's likely going to be a patchwork of affiliated insurgency groups. So all of these different types of groups that have somewhat of a similar goal. So groups like Antifa or BLM kind of have similar goals, right? So they're going to sort of be on one side, and there's going to be whatever these right-wing groups are, or even just, conservative type people against. So it's going to be a whole bunch of these affiliated groups against each other, and it's going to be these light skirmishes. It's not going to be like a big war. It's going to be like, boom, there's 10 people dead here. Oh, the next day there's going to be 15 people dead here, and there's going to be fighting in this suburb, and it's just going to be like these
FDA against OSHA, and OSHA against ICE.
FDA and OSHA. Can you imagine that? That army,
just all these groups, just all of a sudden turn into like armies. They're like, well, I guess I'm part of the
OSHA
Alcohol's
army,
Anonymous group. So
the AA and OSHA army. I like that. So, and they're going to do a lot of like these little light skirmishes with like occasional high value target attacks. Maybe it's going to be going after whoever the president is or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I can totally see that.
I keep thinking of Red Dawn in this because of the way that they fought that, because they're against obviously these huge armies, depending on which Red Dawn you watched. We're going to go with the first one. But it's like these little insurgent groups that they would just go in and attack and leave and attack and leave and just cause chaos.
And that could totally just happen, within the country. Like, that's our civil war.
Yeah, and we're seeing this already a little bit.
We do.
So these rioters are taking these high-value targets when they can. So a police station, you know what I mean? Or obviously like a Target or an auto parts store, whatever it might be. I know, sons of bees. But so it's kind of similar to what's happening now, just very ramped up probably if it becomes a civil war. And one of the things to think about is they're probably going to be organized and driven by digital networks, most likely.
Yeah, and that's where that kind of like the ISIS.
Yeah, so social media, apps, technology.
That's where people are recruited. That's where people join sides.
Yep. And so that type of thing, those types of tools are going to help unite and organize them. Obviously, as long as there's still viable internet and data, this all kind of depends on what the government may do in a situation like this, because they have a lot of power, and they could just go full China and say, you don't get any of it. The internet's gone.
Yeah.
Like they could totally do that if they wanted. So
General Zuckerberg's going to take everything away
from the
from
Facebook army, the Facebook infantry. You know what I mean?
They just send insults.
Yeah.
Aww.
Dislikes. Oh, dang it.
There's no physical altercation. But
we say that, but actually I have a thing here. Extremely big corporations with endless cash could get involved in a war like this. Think Twitter, Google, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft. They have a ton of power. They have a ton of money. They have a ton of, technology, and their platforms are humongous. And whatever side they happen to land on, they are going to utilize their whatever they might have to help that side.
Right.
So that's going to be part of this civil war. I mean, it's a new thing.
Yeah.
This is a new age.
And money plays, like you said, plays a huge role. It's like, even in the history of the Civil War, it's like the South was going to try and go and pull different countries into it.
Yeah.
You know, like
Sure.
And it's like, I mean, look at the Revolutionary War.
Oh, yeah.
If it wasn't for France,
Well, thank goodness
we
they could
wouldn't
fight
have-
back then.
yeah.
You know what I
So
mean?
it's like using that money to go and hire mercenaries and other people and
Yeah.
other groups, and it's like
Who knows?
it's endless.
It totally is. So another aspect, each of these sides they're going to obviously use guns. They're going to use things like drones, homemade drones, because it's really not that hard to make a drone like a DJI Inspire or something into a weaponized drone.
Oh yeah.
I've
just
seen
looking
some
at
videos
of like carrying a Molotov.
It's insane
Dropping
what they
them.
can do, and they're actually doing it over in the Middle East right now.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, everything's in the Middle East.
Yeah, so they're
Any
buying
horrible war effort. Is,
Yeah, they're buying like these really cheap like DJI drones, and they're weaponizing them, and they can do it for like really inexpensively for
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
And so that's going to happen, and then they're going to use social media, / propaganda. They're going to use that quite a bit.
We should see. Do you see all the effects that like China does? Like during like they can digitalize all these different words. Like if they like sent all these drones, just you just cause a ton of chaos.
Totally could. There's going to be fights, around supply lines. That's going to be a huge deal, obviously. Hoarding resources, water, crops, and food, electricity, even access to healthcare, I think is going to be a big deal because, some of the big cities, they have the doctors, they have the big hospitals, so they can kind of control some of that. So who knows what could happen there.
Yeah, because you got, big procedures and more intense procedures that can't be done in these rural communities. They're going to be like, sorry.
Yeah.
You can't come in.
Your side is in the rural communities.
Yeah,
We're not
you
gonna,
just die from natural causes.
Exactly. So chaos is going to be kind of the word that I think, with the Second Civil War. It's just going to be complete chaos. So I keep thinking about this, and I don't know exactly how this might look, but what does the government do in this situation, and where do they land in the equation? Are they going to be an opposing side in this? Like, is it going to be government versus people of some sort, whatever group it might be? Or is it going to be these two factions against each other, and the government is like a third party?
It's totally possible, too.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they're trying to...
trying to regulate like a referee.
Exactly. They're either trying to keep the peace and stop it, or they're trying to take out another side, so it's like 2 against 1. You just don't know. So that's something you have to think about. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean a second civil war is against the government in any way. It could just be 2 groups of people within the country.
Yeah.
So who knows what the heck that what might happen there. A lot of people say that this...
I'm going to go with third party that does nothing.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Spends a lot of money and does nothing. I'm going to go with that, too.
They're going to go
like
on
that.
strike during the whole... When there's a civil war going on, I'm going on strike.
Yeah.
Government shut down, people.
We're gonna vote in more money for turtle research. Sounds about right now.
It does. Yeah,
right?
seriously.
A lot of people say that this type of war is actually going to have less deaths because of the nature of the fighting. But you have to...
I don't know. I actually think it would be more, even without gunfire.
I don't know. We'll see. So there's that secondary effect, I think, that will probably be pretty devastating.
I think so, too.
And that's like the food shortages that may happen, the limited access to healthcare, power outages, water, whatever it might be. All this could mean a ton of secondary deaths.
Yeah, withholding.
Yeah.
Even like vaccines, they could just hold all of them from...
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy.
And then a drone comes in with mumps and measles.
Yeah, no. Gets us all. Chlamydia for everybody. The drop of chlamydia bomb.
What is that?
What is that?
Oh, I got my eyeball.
Oh, it tastes weird. Tastes like chlamydia.
Eyes all gooped shut.
Exactly. And then you can't get your meds because,
Yeah,
just can't
you've
get it.
been limited.
So some of the groups that may be involved in this, and I hesitate to even say some of this, but it's something to think about. Groups like Antifa, any of the white supremacist groups are going to get involved, probably BLM, not the Bureau of Land Management, but Black Lives Matter.
I know.
Can you imagine the BLM?
They would try to get involved somehow.
BLM versus the National Forest.
There ain't going to be battles on this ground.
You guys got permit
Take it
for that?
elsewhere.
Permits, please.
Hey, these drones aren't supposed to be in national parks. Get out of
So
here.
true. BLM, the Bureau of Land Management versus National Forest. You know what I mean? You just don't know.
That'd be a battle. It's
Sure
tough.
would.
The National Forest, they know their ground.
They really do.
well.
And then the Parks Department is a third party. You don't know what's going to happen.
They're like the forward operating base. Like they have these little tourist centers.
Usually tourist centers?
Tourist.
Ford tourist centers.
Tourist.
Right-wing militias, obviously religious groups, environmental activists, because they're all crazy. Many left-wing activist groups. There's just a ton. Or it could just be straight like Republicans versus Democrats.
Right.
You know, left versus right. It could be West Coast versus the world. Minorities versus non-minorities. You don't know. You know what I mean?
Isn't that already happening?
Yeah,
All
pretty
of
much.
that?
Yeah. And like Cam said, there's clearly foreign agents and influences at work. You know, Russia, China, they see it as an opportunity for them to take down a big dog on the block.
Right.
And so they're inflaming the situations.
Or, a cost thing for them. Like China obviously wants all Trump's crap to go away.
Yeah.
So that they can...
Get rid of the tariffs, please.
Yeah.
And so this could be some sort of a really long, drawn-out, grinding type battle, you know, that goes on for years. You just don't know. Again, I don't know.
2020.2.
Yeah.
2020.2.
We're not even going to have a tick over of the years until all this crap's done. We're staying in 2020 until we figure stuff out.
A 5 year, like a decade of 2020.
Yeah, just like Trump
couldn't
comes
ever
up.
move on from it. We wanted to, but we knew we couldn't. So
Trump comes up until we get this crap on our hand. We're not going to 2021. Not going to happen.
I could totally see him saying that too.
And so a big thing that people talk about quite frequently when it comes to like a second American Civil War is, can the people even put up a fight against the U.S. military?
Yeah.
And that's what the thing that I've always wondered too. It's like, is it even
I
possible?
think when you first talk Civil War, that's what I think is like firearms and army and a battle, because that's like that's what we've seen in history and what the first thing that comes to my mind. But then when you stop and think about it, you're like, how could that happen and how would it happen? Because even the military like said some statements recently. They're like, we won't have any part in like the whole election turnover and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but anyway,
that's crazy, dude. But some say that it's actually
they even had to think about that.
I know, dude. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
2020 again.
Like people are like asking them, so are you going to be involved? Well, hey, listen.
Whoa.
It's sad that it's come to that.
So there's the Second Amendment argument that always comes up, and you know, a lot of the pro Second Amendment people say, well, the reason that we're able to have these arms is in case we have to take it up against our government, right? In case that they become tyrannical or whatever it might be, that we need to have these guns. And it's a really good argument, I think. Some people don't think so because they say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many hunting rifles you have or how many ARs you have. You can't contend with the U.S. military.
Yeah.
They have jets, they have tanks, they have all these things, right? But do you really think if something starts that the U.S. military is going to bring out the bombers and start just carpet bombing Portland?
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not going to. That's not how it's going to happen.
Right.
Most likely. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a military expert, but I don't think that they're going to do that. I think they're going to send in ground troops, you know, light military units, those types of things first, because you just don't want to destroy an American city.
Right.
Right? I just don't think they're going to do it. Again, look back at like Red Dawn. I think that's kind of how it's going to be, these light skirmishes that happen. Because, you know, if you even look at like Afghanistan, the people that were fighting over there, they don't have tanks. They don't have jets.
No.
But they've been able to keep a war going for like 10 years.
I know. Look at Vietnam. How the advantage the United States military had, and they couldn't fight them.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, over there,
there's a lot of stuff with that, but
you know, in Afghanistan, I mean, they got AKs, they have IEDs, and they're putting up a pretty good fight. I mean, not saying that we're not kicking their ass, but I'm just saying, it's still going.
It's a mess. And there's so much. And another thing's like the land mass and like the areas.
Yeah.
One thing about the Civil War too was like the division was a little bit more clear. Mm-hmm. It's like the South was more on, you know, yes, there was brother against brother and father against son and stuff like that happened, but that would be even more so now. It's like if you're told to go and drop, like you said, just napalm Portland.
No way.
It's like somebody has some ties there. Yeah. That's a pilot, or there's going to be the internal struggle of the military to not to just do what they're told to do. And so,
that's actually another one of my points I have there. Will the military itself become divided in a situation like this?
I totally think
because there's going to be some on one side, some on the other. Is it going to create havoc within the military? And is there going to be soldiers who might defect just to go protect their family and go protect their hometown and those types of things because this crap is going nuts? You don't know.
Yeah, the U.S. military is not owned by Trump, and
No.
he doesn't control every one of them.
Nobody does.
It's not like
he's
Hitler.
Obviously, he's the head of it, but
Exactly.
like it's not how you know what I mean. You just don't know.
Right. And our government, it's set up to protect us from stuff like
Yes.
that.
But again, if it's a civil war, what happens? I don't know.
I don't either.
They might have to use the military again.
That's true.
So, but I know that they're not going to drop a nuke, on Missoula, Montana. If they're just not going to do it, right? And
It's too small. It's pointless.
But
Boise.
I just say that because they're not just going to come out with these bombs and start killing rioters.
No.
So it's going to continue to go. Here's a few other things to think about when we talk about these types of things. There's 3 million U.S. military veterans who have brought home the skills of urban and rural warfare from Afghanistan and Iraq. There's 3 million of them in the United States right now. So there are people outside of the military that are just regular civilians that know how to fight a war like this.
I know, that's crazy. I never thought about that.
So
there are tons.
Depending on what side they might be on, they could really organize and they could really do some damage on whatever other side they want to do damage on. Like they could really cause some havoc.
Yeah.
And so you have to think about that. It's not just idiots like us out there with an AR. There's people out there that know what the F they're doing. And so they could really do some damage.
It's like Tom Brady.
Yeah,
playing against the Patriots. He's gonna know all the play, all the game plan.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's not necessarily them against the government or the military. It could be them against left-wing military groups. So that's what I'm saying.
They're very well trained.
So they're well trained. So I'm just saying that you just have to think about that.
Yeah, that's kind of terrifying.
Also, the food supply again is mostly controlled by rural America.
Yeah,
and so that's mostly kind of one side of the political aisle there too.
It is.
And one side of the ideological aisle, so there's something to think about.
So just give up and withhold food, and it could really cause some problems.
The left wing basically controls urban areas. They
Digital
really do.
And media. And,
exactly.
And like commercial. Yeah, it's like.
And they're heavily populated with minorities. So those urban areas are very specific, one side of a lot of different coins. The rural areas are just very, very specific. So, again, you just have to think about those things when you think about this type of a war. It's crazy.
And these are extreme things. Like, you know, we're not trying to scare you. But,
I'm trying to scare you.
But you should be scared.
No, if you're prepping for it, those are things you have to think about, right?
You do.
And in 2020, you really have to think about it because who the F knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, seriously. Speaking of not knowing what could happen.
Sure.
You could be cyber attacked at any moment. You know that?
Yeah, I know. I know.
So seriously, Russia pays people a lot of money to go and hack. And we're all vulnerable. We all get online. We all use our information. But
we do.
We can protect ourselves. And we all should be doing this, really, honestly. And you know how to do it? Go to Surfshark. Surfshark they are a VPN, so you have a virtual private network that you set up through them. It basically makes it look like you're in England surfing the web in Canada. I don't know.
Great.
Whatever. So it basically makes you go gray man online. We talk about that all the time. Going gray man. You don't want people to follow you don't want to even be noticed online.
No.
And Surfshark can do that for you. So getting Surfshark, you no longer have to worry about malware, phishing, obnoxious and unsafe ads or emails that come up all the time. And if you accidentally click on one, you don't have to worry about it when you're with Surfshark because your IP address, all that's protected. You can also set up their HackLock ID protection that will email you when your email password has been compromised.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Not only does Surfshark protect you, but you can use it to enjoy yourself. You can go and stream, like Netflix UK, they only have their programming, and you can go and pretend like you're in the UK at your home computer and watch some videos. Kobe tried this, and it worked.
It worked great.
So one subscription, this is the big thing for Surfshark, is that one subscription covers all of your devices. So no matter what can go online, it's protected with Surfshark. Android, BlackBerry, Handspring.
Game Boy.
Fast, unlimited access, 24/7 support, and it's risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. That's huge. Like, if you've never tried a VPN, try it.
Do it.
And if you don't like it, then you can get your money back.
Sure.
Like, how often do you get a 30-day from any of those programs?
Not very often.
So Go to surfshark.deal/casualpreppers and enter our promo code casualpreppers for 85% off and 3 extra months for free. One more week, you get this really good because their prices are changing a little bit, but go now because you got in 1 week, $47.76 will give you 27 months.
Right through the Civil War.
VPN. Cheaper than any of the others. It's inexpensive, like Kobe likes me to say.
Yes.
So, and if you don't like it in 30 days, you have no obligation to keep it.
Beautiful.
So just go and do it.
Surfshark.
Yeah. So, if the Civil War in all its different forms happens, what effect will it have on us? Even if you're like, I'm not getting involved, I don't want to be part of this.
Yeah.
How is
ain't
it going to
fight?
So, unfortunately, you will not be immune to all the problems that could happen.
No.
One of the big things is obviously our economy. What kind of problems will happen if we were to have whatever type of civil war? So just for example, during the Civil War of 1860, the Confederates were forced to rely on printing money. So selling bonds and making money for war efforts and all that, there's a huge cost to that.
Yeah.
To come up with that money and to continue coming up with that money to fight whatever war we might be in, it's going to make everything go up a ton. They figured in the South that the inflation, the point prices were 9,000 times their level at the beginning of the war.
Oh my
Stuff
gosh.
became just outrageous, and I mean the South just shriveled up. I mean, it couldn't afford to go any longer.
Like a wiener in a cold pool.
That's exactly
right.
I was going to say that.
Didn't you write that down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The North itself, that was successful and had a lot bigger economy and a lot bigger population, they still had suffered roughly twice the level of prices. So no matter what side and whatever thing happens, prices are going to go astronomically high.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to afford. The other thing is if taxes come into it, taxes went up a ton. So we end up fueling this war effort or whatever's going on. So anyways, we lose money out the butt during a civil war.
Ow.
And when we try to go pay for stuff, maybe stuff for your butt,
yeah,
it's going to be really expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, all of us too, like nowadays, unfortunately, we have this really nice system that we can just, when I need something, we just go down to the store and you get it.
It's great.
Right away. I love it.
It's
amazing.
It's great.
It's one of the reasons I grew up in America.
That's why I didn't want to go to Russia or something like that.
When I chose to be born, I chose America.
That looks great.
But the overwhelming majority of people live that way, where there's like by the end of the week they need to go to the grocery store and stock up on,
or by the
all
end of
stuff.
the day.
So we go back and forth to these stores and get our medicines and get our food. When that supply is interrupted, and we saw this during the first part of the pandemic, it's a nightmare, and people make really bad decisions, and they just buy whatever they think they need, and it's wasted. So anyways, obviously that will be a huge problem. People not in conflict areas will face job loss and hardship. The whole country is connected in that way. We saw when the restaurants weren't opening, and then all of those inner Midwestern states, they had to bury all their food because it's like we have this mass production that is, it's set up on this chain.
Just on time delivery, yeah.
And once that was interrupted for just a week, it's like they had to bury a ton of food. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Buried
anyways,
the taters,
obviously there's this huge ripple effect throughout, no matter what side you're on.
Yeah.
The other freaky thing is, for one, there's not very many people preparing for retirement. Already a problem.
Yeah.
And two, a lot of them are relying on when they're done. They've had these pensions and IRAs and 401ks. That's going to be gone.
Yeah, in a bad civil
war. So all
war.
these people that are like not working or unable to work for their age, all of a sudden they lose everything that they expected to receive or they've been saving, and that sucks. And so you got all these old people kicking around.
Jeez.
Nobody wants to give them a job. Anyways, and then the hyperinflation, obviously, like I was saying, it's just going to be crazy. So that's the economy alone. What about utilities? And this is like transportation and roads and
power,
water, all that stuff requires human power.
Human.
Omen power. And once this too, people lose their jobs or the power company, like for example, we have a big power company near us. It's like if we were all one-sided,
power
we're just
company.
like, we're not giving you any more power.
Yeah.
The city, we're just going to cut it off, or people are going to stop working. And so you lose all those convenient things. And then can't get the ATM. You can't get money out of it. You can't go to your bank. All your online money is gone.
Can't turn on the AC.
Oh my! That's the worst scenario of all things.
I know.
Yeah. Don't even mention it.
I'm
I
sorry.
about threw up.
I'm sorry.
So, and then the supply chains, like we talked about, you're not going to get your food replenished, and tires for your car, all that stuff's going to fall off. I'm
All that
even
stuff's gonna fall off. Your tires are gonna fall off your car.
They are. So I'm even seeing, like, even now from the beginning of the pandemic, that brief little shutdown thing, like you still see that things are unavailable. It sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Like even printering.
Weird stuff.
I'm like, where's the printering?
It's like my wife sells T-shirts, and there's like a T-shirt shortage.
It's so weird.
Like, how stupid is that?
Yeah. And even stuff is like bought up that I would never expect to be bought up. Like when we moved into this new office, these are stupid things, but
Yeah, sure.
But I'm like, we needed office chairs, and they're like sold out. I'm like, how did this get like?
There was a
People
pandemic.
just buying a bunch of chairs.
Oh, we might die from a pandemic.
Last
gotta
thing I
get me a
want is
chair.
not to be able to sit down.
If I can't sit down, I might as well die from COVID.
Yeah. But then it's moved all these people to working from home, and it's just like changed everything.
Maybe that's what it is. They're working from home. They all need an office chair.
That's what's happening. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. The other thing is, do you have to fight? Like I said, if you want to play play riding on the fence, and you don't want to fight either way, that violence is probably going to come to you anyway.
Yeah.
Like we see it, like Portland. Even the mayor? I mean, you just be standing downtown, supporting your protesters, and get a canister shot in your face.
Yep.
Get tear gassed. So, anyways, Collateral Damage. Disillusion.
Great
of
movie.
The government. Yeah. Is it Collateral Damage a movie?
Yeah.
I thought it was just Collateral.
No, wasn't Collateral Damage like a Schwarzenegger movie or something? I don't know. I'll look it up. You keep
I
going.
don't know. But wasn't Collateral the one with Tom Cruise?
Yes, that was with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway. And
Maybe-
then there's what if we lose the government altogether? As much as many of us probably hate the government and all the crap that comes with it and all the politics,
Yeah,
we
it was.
have to have a government.
Schwarzenegger movie, 2002.
Was it? Collateral Damage?
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyways, I'm just trying to go through these.
You're good. No, don't worry about it.
Martial
we're
law.
fine. We're
Martial
fine.
law. I'd like to do this episode again
I
because
know,
it
we
was such an
probably need to.
exciting and realistic thing. Like, I think martial law makes more sense in this scenario than it does in any other. It's
Probably,
like-
yeah.
like,
Probably.
we've got to get control of these protesters and these rioters. Like towns are just starting to burn.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how do we, whatever government's left, how do they get in there and kind of start to control? Martial law makes the most sense.
That's the way it'll happen.
And people freak out about martial law, and rightfully so. Who knows what it could be? Curfews, and then you've got a-holes that are, in military uniforms or whatever. Like, you got those same people that hate people
I know.
that are now being, telling you need to stay indoors and stuff, but they could do whatever they want.
Yeah,
and
I
so
mean, it's
guns
obviously-
and food and storage, all that stuff. We talked about how extreme that could be.
Yeah.
All that becomes government property.
It's obviously not great because you lose lots of rights and all those things happen. But sometimes, in the government's view, it has to happen to keep some sort of semblance of
Right.
order.
And it makes sense to
Yeah.
be the thing.
But it's just,
people are
again,
chaos.
it's
Or
another
chaos.
thing to think about in these
Chaotic.
situations that martial law is a very high possibility in a situation like this. So you have to understand what martial law is, what it might look like, when
And
it
you
might
do-
come.
yeah. Because a lot of people started bringing it up during the pandemic and freaking out. And
Sure.
so
And again, in the pandemic, if it would have gotten worse, it could
It
have
probably-
been possible.
it's what Italy had to do.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
yeah, it was basically
People
martial law.
Lost their minds.
Yeah.
And it's a scary deal. It's a whole different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And but yeah, imposing curfews. You can't stay at home. You have to stay at home. And then people that don't comply, they can just shoot you.
Exactly.
So
I mean,
anyways.
if it's the middle of a civil war, anyways, they're probably going to do that anyways. I
Right,
guess.
exactly.
Probably.
So anyway, there's a lot of different things that just kind of compound each.
Yeah.
The problems just kind of stack up, and they turn into, like I said, 2020 version
Yeah.
2.0.
And again, guys, there's so much to this. There's so many
Yeah,
different
that's why it's like,
aspects.
ugh.
we can't get to all of it, and we can't look at every possible scenario. We're just trying to get a really good kind of overview of what we think it might look like, what some of the experts think. So I know there's probably stuff we've missed and we've misrepresented. Again, we know we're dumb. Yeah. We're doing our best to bring you.
It's just a topic that's been coming up, and people are talking about what are the possibilities of a civil war. And, and it is a possibility.
Absolutely. Guys, today's podcast is brought to you by TacPack, the only monthly tactical subscription box with useful professional grade stuff inside. Use our code Casual Preppers and get a free separate bag sent of EDC gear along with your first month's TacPack. Head to TacPack.com, use our code Casual Preppers, get some free EDC gear that'll get you through a civil war just like that.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
You get tons of free EDC. Like
you do.
These guys have to be robbing.
Yeah, they're robbing
all kinds
someone.
of places.
Someone's losing out, but it's not you.
You're doing
good.
Who cares what they're doing and how shady it is?
Doesn't matter.
They get you amazing stuff.
Exactly.
For super low cost.
So, Cam, how do you prepare for this? We're preppers, right? Even if we're casual, you got to start to, if you're thinking about this situation, well, what the crap do I do to get ready for it, right? Even if you're not like one of those people that's putting on your bulletproof vest, throwing on your
Maybe
AR.
You're protesting right now listening to this.
Yeah, and, throwing on your optics. If you're not that guy, but you just want to survive through it, how are you going to do that? Yeah. So let's start.
Here's the take home from this whole thing.
Start taking some notes, but it's going to be notes almost like all of our other episodes. So
flip back a few pages and do some highlighting.
Exactly. Always start with the basics, you guys. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a civil war. It doesn't matter if it's the Yellowstone volcano. You have to start with the basics. You have to have food, water, medicine.
Your body needs these.
You got to have them. Your body needs it. So because, like Cam mentioned, supply lines can be compromised, because it could even be dangerous to go to the store, even if there's stuff at the store, because food could become a weapon and prices could skyrocket. You've got to have your food preps. You have to have your long-term food storage. You've got to have your regular pantry food storage. You got to have a resupply plan. Maybe it's gardening or whatever it might be. You have to have a way to eat. Because eating keeps you alive.
It does.
So think about that. It's not all about bullets. It's not all about guns in these situations. You still have to eat, and you can't eat lead. Can't do it.
You can.
You can, but
you will die.
You will die. You're right.
Either it will be delivered to you by a firearm.
Yes.
Or you can literally eat the bullets.
You can ingest
but
it.
You will die.
But it will not feel good going into your colon. I promise you this.
No.
Water. Again, this is essential to life. I
love water.
Yeah, it's great. Been drinking it my whole life. You will most likely still have running water. Probably. I don't know. Probably.
Kobe wants pop water.
I do.
Obviously, he loves the bubble water.
I really do. That's all. That's all. It's it. I have a 55-gallon barrel of
bubble water.
Carbonated water. Can I get carbonated water from a stream? Is that possible?
I don't know. Go buy you a pop machine, like a little pop maker. Mm-hmm. Just bubble your water.
The soda stream or whatever they're called. Yeah.
I've actually wanted one of those.
Me too. So anyways, so you're probably going to have running water, but there's no telling what may happen. There could be attacks on water infrastructure, chemical accidents, power outages, the pumps stop working. So again, you have to have water.
Yeah. People work at those places.
They do. Yeah.
That water doesn't just happen to be
doesn't magically appear
high pressured because
and like we said, those types of things could be used as weapons from one side to the other to cause chaos. If you can't get water
can be sprayed right in your face.
You get all wet. You get all wet.
Waterboarding,
yeah.
So anyway,
so you got to have it just in case. Medicine and first aid. Again, what if the fighting is outside your house or in your neighborhood? You don't know.
You don't.
You're gonna have some first aid skills for one thing. Got to know how to.
You should be standing at the window like, once I got a shot, I'm gonna get out there.
I got a tourniquet wrapped around yourself.
Medic on the field.
Yeah. But you're gonna have first aid skills, and supplies for yourself, for your group, or just that random, rioter that runs by and gets shot in the thigh. You gotta have a way to figure that out.
That's a good rhyme.
Yeah, that was a good rhyme.
Runs by, gets shot in the thigh.
Medicine. Again, supply chains will be disrupted in these scenarios. No doubt. I have no doubt in my mind. This means medicine will be in high demand and in short supply, and that means it's hard to get. So you've got to figure out, if you have daily meds, you have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Have a plan.
And you're guaranteed to have a recall on some of those.
Guarantee it. Yeah, it's going to be garbage.
This one causes cancer.
Yes.
Even though it's helping your sugars.
Yeah, even though your liver still works. Security. This obviously is a very big issue in this scenario. A second civil war will basically be an amped up version of the insane mayhem we're seeing right now. Looters, protesters, riots, crime, all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of that, but at a way bigger scale and a way bigger level, right?
Yeah.
So if, law enforcement could be either at a breaking point or really stretched thin during these times, or they're not even there. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true too.
You know what I mean? So you have to make sure that...
Isn't New York basically just getting rid of all cops?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, they're just got signs that says...
We're tired of it.
No crime zone.
Tired of you guys walking around with your guns and protecting us. Get out of here.
So you have to basically take security into your own hands in these situations. So a few things to think about. A security system, again, the cops may not come if it goes off, but it is a basic deterrent, and it's a great warning system for you.
So your rent-a-cops goes up. Like,
I know.
I'm going to invest in rent-a-cops.
Yeah. Fences are great to keep people out and to have a way to slow people down, coming into your zones. Guard dogs are great because they guard and they bark. Those things
and
are
their
good.
dogs.
And their dogs. Home defense weapons. And this could go several ways. You got to have a way to, defend your house.
Yeah.
But it also could be a weapon if you have to get involved in these skirmishes for some freaking reason. I don't want to, but you may have to if it comes to your neighborhood, or if it, if you feel strongly enough about whatever is going on, you may have to do it. So this means you got to have weapons, and you have to have an ammo stockpile of some sort, because you're not going to get resupplied at Sportsman's Warehouse, because they're not going to be getting their shipments, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Saw it in the Civil War. They had a battle like...
They closed down all Sportsman's Warehouses.
Yeah. They're back now.
They're back now. Great. We love it. Great American company.
You're going to have Gettysburg battle, right? You may be the only house in the middle of the whole
Exactly.
thing.
You could be, yeah.
Terrifying.
Self-defense techniques. With rioters, looters, crime, it's inevitable that you're going to have some sort of an encounter with a douchebag or rioter. Like, it is inevitable. It's going to happen, Cam, in this situation.
Yeah, a literal douchebag would be gross.
That would be horrible, obviously, but even just the figurative douchebag is not going to be fun either. I'll tell you that right now. So
and there's plenty of them.
There's so many.
Like the majority,
the majority of people are these. So you need to know some sort of like non-lethal hand-to-hand combat, because it's going to come up.
That's impossible.
Yeah, these are lethal weapons.
They're always lethal.
Yeah. So you don't.
Maybe a kick. Maybe you're not as strong.
Yeah, maybe
lower half.
Yeah, you just don't want to go shooting people all the time.
No,
you know what I mean.
No. Yeah.
There's certain situations that call for shooting somebody. There's certain situations that do not call for it, but you still have to be able to defend yourself or immobilize somebody. So, sometimes choking them out or breaking their arm is better than putting a 223 round in their temple. Right. So just, have a way to do that. And then also, along with that, be physically fit, because it's super important. In these situations, you may need to run, hike, and move around. You got to do it without having a heart attack.
Right.
So having a heart attack in these situations is not going to be great.
If you roll around on the grass for like 1 minute, you're going to realize I should be more fit. You know what? I'm tapping out.
My heart hurts. What happened? I just sat down on the grass.
I'm dizzy. Hold on. I'm dizzy. Let's not keep going.
I don't like this.
Hold on. I can't breathe. Hold on. Okay.
Go. Let's climb in.
Come on.
Climb in. And the thing is, it's beneficial for you now, and it's going to be extremely beneficial for you in the second Civil War to be, physically fit. You don't want to be like trying to get your miles in when this thing starts and doing your cardio. You want to be ready.
Right.
So think about that.
True.
Bartering in cash, you got to think about this in these situations.
Barter your cash
right away. Write that. The dollar could become useless really quick. Your bank account could get deleted in an instant. Nah.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not killing you. So, having other commodities to barter with could be a lifesaver. But initially, again, cash is going to be king in the short term. So have cash on hand. We talk about that constantly.
Like a ballot. I bet you'd be trading those.
You could, yeah. Hey, I'll give you a Trump ballot for a Biden ballot.
Come on now.
Votes for votes.
Yeah.
Gold, silver, precious metals. We've talked about those several times. Great alternatives. Food, ammo, and medicine. The best bartering things you could get probably right there.
That's why you get silver bullets, because you got 2 for 1 there.
2 for 1.
Trade
and
your
then
silver,
if the werewolves come,
and you got a bullet.
Yeah. Skills. Again, having skills to barter. Cam's great with this because he can suture up your butthole if you need to. Just again, I'll trade you a sutured butthole for some food. Right?
That's exactly. That was the first one I was thinking of.
I mean,
Hey, before you decline this offer,
let me show you what I can do.
I can suture your butthole and any other hole.
Yeah.
For that bag of
Any
wheat.
orifice of your body, I can suture it right now. Show you how.
For that DVD player, I will give you free suture.
Yeah. I also want all the Ocean's 11 DVDs you got.
Love that series.
Basic spices, salt and seasoned salt, pepper, and all those things are going to be super useful in the apocalypse or in a
Spice
second Civil
Girls.
War. Spice Girls.
Spice Girls.
Baby Spice, Sporty Spice.
All of those are important.
And then you go to your vices. After your spices, you go to the vices. This is alcohol, coffee, weed, cigarettes, all those types of things.
Lay's potato chips.
Taters chips. Chips.
Taters chips.
You got to have those.
That's a cheap brand. Yeah.
Crispy taters.
Kroger tater chips. Tater chips.
Tater chips. Yeah, so be thinking about ways to barter. Sanitation, Cam. Oh, boy. I hope you got a plan for this, Cameron.
I do.
When the utilities get cut off.
Clorox, everything.
Yeah, when utilities get cut off, you got to have a plan. The trash is going to keep piling up.
Yeah, garbage aren't coming.
Garbage is not coming to get it. So you got to think about that. You got to think about water, keeping things sanitary, dealing with sick people if the hospitals are out of order or, taken over. Out of order. Go to the next one.
I'm trying to get in, but
yeah,
it's out of order.
Pooping becomes much less fun in these situations because you can't just flush it down the toilet.
It used to be a really satisfying, nice event you just got rid of.
Now
you're like, now what do I do with it?
Used to be a daily,
poop again.
Used to be great.
I don't have anywhere to put this.
Yeah, where am I going to put it now? So you got to think about that.
Cam, suture my butthole shut, and then I don't have to worry about
This is a great idea. I'm just going to shoot it shut. Don't have to worry about it no more.
Suture my mouth, my butthole shut. And then I don't have to worry about
can't
that
eat,
whole
can't
process.
poop. You're good to go.
I can keep going forever.
We're stupid. Tactical training. You got to think about the This could be kind of controversial, but it's a good idea to know how to shoot and tactical training and things like that. Insurgency tactics, recon, homemade explosives. It could be really valuable in a second Civil War. I'm not advocating for this, but I'm just telling you.
No, and that was another thing too. Like with the Civil War, is that the South was super outnumbered, but they all knew how to use a firearm. The Union didn't. They had the military stuff.
Those
but
Yankees, I tell you.
The everyday person wasn't a hunter and wasn't.
Yeah.
So anyway, it
helps.
helps.
Ex-military folks, operators, they're going to be in high demand in these situations. So, again, something to think about. Urban areas, no doubt urban areas are going to be hot spots in a second Civil War. Population centers, they're going to have goods, they're going to have infrastructure, they're going to have people. Internet,
maybe.
They're gonna have all those things. So those are places you're probably gonna want to avoid.
Yes.
Communications in a second Civil War. You have to have a heads up if something like this is unfolding. You have to understand what's happening, where it's happening, and when it's happening. I don't know what you're smiling at. But
down there lower, I just saw hand cam.
Oh, okay, yeah. You need to be aware of what's happening in the country now and in the future. You have to keep informed. When it goes down and lawlessness takes hold, you will need daily information to keep safe because things are going to change rapidly. Yeah. You got to know what's happening on the ground because it could mean...
And in the air.
And in the air. But it could mean life and death. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Again, just tune into your NOAA and it's like, there's going to be an airstrike coming in and
south side of
okay, we need to move.
Airstrike. When it goes, social media, if it's still operable, it's actually going to be a great source of information. But here's the caveat. As long as it isn't filtered or skewed in one way or the other. That's what we were talking about before with Twitter
impossible.
Or Facebook, But it's instantaneous and it's constantly getting updated and it's firsthand video and it's, firsthand eyewitness reports. So you're seeing stuff as it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's
people do check in, use that to show that their family members are okay and things like that.
Exactly. Emergency radios are going to be great for a backup. We talk about this constantly, but a crank, solar, and battery trio radio is great to have. Ham radio. Cam knows all about those. Ham cam.
I don't, actually.
Two-way radios are going to be great.
I know they're there.
Yeah.
And you can learn about them.
Two-way radios are going to be great for your localized communications with your family or your group, in this type of situation. And I can't stress this enough.
Rocky talkies.
Have an emergency plan. And and in this scenario, you're going to have to update it frequently as things evolve
Right.
and
I think in
change.
your prepping, it's like your food, your water, and your emergency plan.
Yeah.
Like in that
so
order.
important. So important because, whether it's you and your family or your group, you
No, I
have
ain't
to
taking no
know.
family.
You have
Way
to know.
easier on your own.
You have to know what your plan is. Say, it's not happening in your town right now, but what if it does move into your town? And what do we do in the first signs of something like this happening? So when that starts to go on, like right now would be actually a really great time to update everybody's emergency plan. So because we have all this rioting, we have things that really haven't been happening very often.
Biden emergency plan and the Trump emergency plan.
That's a great one. On a red
All right,
piece of
so
paper
what's
and a
gonna
blue
happen?
piece of paper.
Okay, if he wins, this is what may happen, what we need to do.
That's
If he
actually
wins-
not a bad idea.
No, it probably
we
isn't a
we
bad
joke
idea.
about that, but it's not a bad idea. But really, updating your emergency plan right now with the current situation and the current climate is actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree.
So think about it. Gray man. Being gray man right now could save you a lot of trouble in a situation like this, in a second civil war. Those people that are...
You may be a nobody already. You're already ahead.
Yeah. Being overtly political or partisan or opinionated is going to push you to one side or the other in something like this very publicly. And so if you haven't been doing that a lot on, public Facebook or Twitter or whatever, or Instagram, or just yelling at your friends, the things that you believe, then you're sort of in that gray man area. You're in the gray area in the middle. And so you're not definitely on one side or the other. So it could kind of save you from having to take a side in a situation like this.
Sure.
So think about that. Bugging out. This is going to be a huge deal as well. This situation is a situation where bugging out could be super important. Super important.
Yeah.
You need to be on your toes. You need to be ready to leave if the fighting hits your neighborhood. So you need to have a bug out bag. You need to have a bug out vehicle, a bug out location, and a bug out plan.
Yeah.
Those are all super key for these situations.
Right.
Because getting out of Dodge might be your
And
only
how long
option.
and how far are you going to be
Yes.
away from everything? So
And those need to be fluid too, because you need to be watching where the fighting is. You need to be watching where it's moving. And depending on the situation, your first
if you
bug
live
out.
in a town with a hill, top of the hill,
Top of the hill.
and watch it all down below.
Yep. Power. Again, Cam talked about utilities. With this situation, long-term power outages could be regular, or there could be no power.
Yeah.
We don't know. So you have to have backup solutions. You need to have like solar lights. You need to have generators. You need to have battery banks. All the things that we talk about all the time. But you have to be ready for power outages.
Yeah, I worry a lot about this whole thing. That's why the
I do too.
EMP thing freaks me out the most.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's so many different options now, and there's a lot of cheap, inexpensive options.
Yeah.
I just bought there's a closeout of a 20,000 milliamp battery from a legit brand.
Oh,
and
nice.
It cost me with a discount code. It came to $7.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mophie, the battery cases that they.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had a closeout.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They probably all start on fire and have some recall.
Probably.
But hey,
But you got it.
I got some power.
And then you're going to need to think about fuel, and that's going to be fuel for whatever generators
Fuel.
you have, and then also fuel for vehicles
And your body.
and your body fuel. So
But yeah, that's going to be.
Yeah.
That'll go fast.
yeah, so you got to think about those things too. The last thing I want to hit on, prepper groups or militias. So this is something in the
True.
prepper community that is,
If you've got this group
gosh, how do
set
I-
up,
yeah. So it's almost a little
could be
bit of
misinterpreted.
prepper porn a little bit. That's kind of what I look at it as. Prepper groups are great. Militias are a different deal that could put you on a watch list and
Yeah.
could put you in danger, or it could get you out of a bad situation. That could be great. You don't know.
Yeah.
But just don't ask me to join your militia, okay? Don't do it, because I'm not going to join. But those are things to think about, because in that situation, if you did
What
have
about
a
church militia?
no. That's no.
Not even a question.
Not even a question. Not happening.
Okay.
Nope. That's actually the last on my list. Church militia. But it is something that could be super beneficial in a situation like this. But you just got to be careful.
There's protection, but yeah, I think
Gotta be
too, you
careful.
could be targeted.
Yeah, could be done. So, guys, that's all I have. Is there anything else that you have?
No,
Cam?
I think it's good stuff. You just have to consider it a possibility.
Yeah.
In reality, I think we have hope that our country is set up and has been set up, even though a lot of groups are trying to take away the Constitution and how it's supposed to work. It's still very possible.
It
I mean,
is.
the USSR fell,
They did.
so
Yeah, but we had Reagan. I don't know.
Texas, they may secede for. Oh my gosh,
Succeed.
They may succeed.
They have succeeded.
They have succeeded.
They've done well.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have a separatist war. We're gonna have Oregon's gonna leave, Seattle.
Let them go.
Just Seattle.
Let them go.
They're gonna leave
Just Seattle.
just in the middle. But isn't it like Washington D.C. wants to become its own
A state.
which is kind of freaky. Like some of that stuff can really happen.
Yeah. So
California, do whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah. Nobody.
I'd rather you leave.
Nobody cares. Just keep making good movies. Oh, or any good
that's
movies.
true.
We want the
Okay.
movies.
Yeah, maybe
They can hold that over our heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, so guys, again, we couldn't hit every possible scenario here. We were just trying to do an overview of possibilities, and a quick, way to prep for it. Or this would be a 3-hour podcast.
It was kind of an overwhelming podcast
Yeah.
for me because I'm not a super political person, and I've been more so in the last probably 6 years, 10 years, just because
Yeah.
like I fear for our country's future.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, but like a lot of you probably understand this whole deal a lot better than I do, and we're just telling you to be careful out there and be prepared for worst case scenario. I mean, it's what we always.
And
do.
I can't stress this anymore. It's not necessarily going to be political. It doesn't have to. This war won't necessarily be along political lines. It could be other things. It could be different ideologies.
Exactly.
It could be, so don't necessarily think it's just going to be left versus right, because that's not true. It could be completely different
Up
situations.
versus down.
Up versus down, in versus out.
But yeah.
All those things. So thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. Please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all those places. We do have a Parler account now, so to go check that out as well. And stay survived.